all of comedy has changed in the 17 years you've been in it.
Oh my God, so massively. And I know that happens every generation. Sometimes I'm like, does everyone feel like this? You know, it always takes, my mind always goes to like parents being like, Elvis is evil, you know, rock and roll. But like, I think we're moving at a lightning speed. Whereas before it was like, oh yeah, new things like that introduced. Things have always been shaking it up or changing or, you know, making people uncomfortable, I guess. But I feel like we're moving at lightning speed in this industry, like how drastically things have changed. From when I started.
Elaborate though on,
because like if I think of somebody like Liz Winstead or HBO's Women of the Night, that was like a lineup of like tons of amazing female comics, and the shit they put up with to get there sucked. So like because they were able to talk about certain things and go through that made a path for me to be able to talk about certain things and feel like, oh, the women before me carved a path. So I felt that influence where those women fought for that. But I also at the time experienced what I had seen, which is, and I don't know if that's changed a ton, but very much one at a time. You know, it was like women had one at a time. You know, it was, I'm just trying to think of examples like Sarah and then Chelsea and then Amy and then Allie. So it's like very much, here's this one, you know, whereas opposed to the idea that we never think about that with male comics. It's like, it's all the guys. You know?
Well, we could do that, I suppose, with one fat guy or one small guy or one black guy, but like it not as pronounced. But
right, you have Eddie, you have Chris, you have Kevin. So it's like, and of course, generationally there are gaps there. But yeah, I think that's always been the case. Early days of stand-up, I was very much getting questions always that were like, what's it like to be a female stand-up comedian? It's a little funny to think about that question now. A little, to be like, so you're asking a 22-year-old, what's it like being a female stand-up comedian? Kind of fun. It makes me feel a little ancient. Right. It's cool. They'd be like, you know. And at the time, I remember making a very specific choice to say I loved it because I wanted other people to not be scared to start. Like I wanted to be like, oh, it's great. Yeah, it means I'm like, you know, I forget how I would phrase it, but I wanted it to seem like, hey, no big deal. But the truth is, like, there were totally deeply uncomfortable times and definite sexism and total line crossing. And, you know, like, and I don't just mean like, well, back then it was cool. It's like, no, it was never cool. I mean, I remember I stood in the back of the room of Fizz. These guys started a Comedians You Should Know show, which still exists. And it was great. It was really cool to be a part of, something really special. I remember being so proud I got on the show, invited my mom. She came up and watched me at Fizz, and my boyfriend Chris at the time would come. And I just felt really cool to be a part of that group. And often I was maybe one female on the lineup. And to your point, one black guy, one female, the rest, you know, straight white dudes. And this is the north side of Chicago. It's very different. You know, like the south side and the north side were quite different scenes. But, and I was standing in the back of the room waiting to go up, and Junior Stopka, one of the guys that ran the show, came up behind me and like, he's like, I don't even know, over 6 feet, huge person. I think he was a boxer. Wound up and smacked my ass, like to the point where it like took my breath away. And the way I'm 22, 23, I was like, how do I handle this? Act like it doesn't bother me. Stand there. I think I did like defend myself in the moment. I wasn't like, because it hurt and it like really shocked me. So I think I said, oh my God, or why did you do that? Or stop. And maybe another guy may have said something. I forget. It's all a blur. It's so long ago. But like, that's crazy. And I had another more supportive guy who booked me on a lot of shows. And this seems harmless, you know, come up to me and he would grab my pigtails and do that stuff, which that seems like nothing. And it's not like I'm saying it's so awful. But, you know, just the idea of anybody feeling like they had access to me or my body is like a crazy thing to be dealing with when you're just waiting to go on stage. And I don't know. So it felt very much like a boys' club that you want to be a part of and you want to be cool about it and sort of hang. And I think that as I've aged and just been more comfortable in my comedy myself, because those guys are all still there. They never left. And I don't know if they still do comedy or not. But it's like now I'm not really worried about what they would think. Like I'll say whatever I need to say. Whereas before, I think I was scared to sort of speak out or say something that felt like an injustice or, you know, it felt like I couldn't tell anybody about certain
there's
things.
great power in that. Do you feel like you were lying when you were saying whatever you were trying to remember there as the stock phrase on what you would say? You just felt you would say it's great.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I was lying because it's not like it was horrific. That's why I brought up the women of the night. Like, I'm sure they dealt with stuff that sucked. And so I'm like, it wasn't like every day was terrible. But by the end of like my third year, I remember thinking about stopping because one of the guys on the scene like kind of had a crush on me, but I didn't really reciprocate. And then he got a little upset. And then his friend who smacked me sort of was trying to intimidate me, saying because I wouldn't have him on my show, I was taking work for him. I'm like, I'm taking 2 drink tickets from him, But I didn't know how to stand up for myself as well. And I remember being scared and hating it. And we had to do a fundraiser at the Playground Theater. It was like a 24-hour sort of, I don't know, what do they call that again? It's like, that used to be really popular. It was like a 24-hour marathon.
Yeah. A telethon, yeah.
And I remember my spot time was like 1 a.m. or something. And it was barely anyone there. And those guys were in the back. And I'm on stage. And it's just so uncomfortable because they were like heckling me. And I was like, I want to stop. I hate this.
Oh, wow. You got to hating it.
Yeah.
You got to hate within 3 years.
Yeah. And I was very sad. And like, Chicago's rough. It's like, because like winter is so long, And so I remember being like just depressed and, I wasn't like living a really super healthy life in the sense like what I told you, like I ate my bagels and I ate at CVS and,
it's not
like I wasn't taking care of myself and feeling great. I rode my bike a lot, but yeah, just like paid and drink tickets. And I remember it being so dark there. I was just like, I think I'm done. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was like, maybe I'll move home. And then the Chicago Reader came out. My friend Emily Giant texted me. She was one of my theater friends from Miami. And she said, did you pick up the Chicago Reader? And I said, no. And she's like, go look at it. And Steve Heisler, the writer at the time, the comedy critic, had named me the best stand-up in Chicago. So that's also a theme for me, like me feeling like I'm at my lowest and like maybe I'll quit and I'm not good. And then some being like, well, you're actually the best. I'm like, what?
That's a theme for you?
Yeah, feeling like I have to pump myself up to be like, I'm good at the job, I'll take it, or I want the job. Like sometimes it never feels like enough, like feathers in my cap to feel confident.
With all of the success and all the collaborations that you've done?
Yeah. I mean, I think back to some of my early days with one of my therapists, like my therapist, and she did say, like, you should make a little, in my office now, I have like a little wall behind me of my favorite moments in comedy. And it was like a little collage I made. And it's massive. It's like all the cool people I've met, me and Wanda Sykes and me and Gilbert Gottfried when I was writing on, all these cool people I've got to touch that I watched as a kid on TV. I don't know if I'm close to my period, but I almost teared up. I'm just sort of like, that's cool. But it's hard to remember that, I think, because of the drive of it all. And what's next to survive? Because comedy for the longest time is like a piecemeal existence where you're like, next job. And I didn't even get to where, we haven't even gotten to LA, but I also had similar multiple jobs and then having to get this covered so I could maybe go and open for this person for $300.